Greetings, citizens of the world. We are anonymous. The launch of the Nova Scotia Home for Colored Children was heralded as the greatest event in the history of colored people in the province. A well-intentioned safe haven for impoverished and neglected African-Nova Scotian children whom for one reason or another became wards of the government. In 1921, 3,000 people celebrated its opening with a parade of dignitaries. Little did they know, nearly a century later, the horrors to occur within its walls would become known as the greatest tragedy of Nova Scotian history. For 70 years, black children were bartered by the home, the province and its agencies which were charged with facilitating and overseeing their protection. Dating back nearly to the beginning of the home's vicious history, are reports of rape, sodomy, starvation, beatings and other sadistic forms of torture perpetrated upon the province's most vulnerable children.
I was raped at 8.5 years old and on the streets as a prostitute.
Multiple incidents of psychological, sexual, physical and mental abuse have been reported, witnessed and documented throughout the years, yet the Department of Justice failed to uncover sufficient material in order to press criminal charges. That failure opened the door to a 15-year legal face-off, a class action lawsuit. Until 2014, when the Nova Scotian government and the Home for Colored Children paid out a combined $34 million in settlement compensation. A series of cover-ups and under-rug swept tactics have empowered the systemic flaws, allowing the abuse of more than 300 children while under provincial care. Premier Stephen McNeil also made a public apology to the now adult survivors of the home and launched a long-awaited public inquiry.
They would make us fight one another.
Child care worker assigned me never visited.
If the province of Nova Scotia and the Home for Colored Children both offered settlements for this abuse, it is obvious that they have identified the incidents in question, but where is the accountability? With the terms of reference review drawing to a close, the provincial government is about to begin a public inquiry. Survivors are optimistic that an opportunity to have their voices heard and their claims investigated will bring with it a well-overdue sense of closure. In order for that to happen, a thorough, transparent and broad-scoped inquiry must occur. The shackles and limitations of the terms of reference must not hinder full disclosure. While a public inquiry does not have the power to enforce criminal charges, it does have the ability to identify drastic oversights and systemic downfalls as a means to reform.
His name is Georgie Williams and he ruined me. I was one of Georgie's girls.
We need to know why Georgie Williams was permitted to rape, abuse and traffic young girls for more than 10 years without anyone stepping in. How the same man was able to get away with sodomizing multiple mentally ill boys in the safety of their bedrooms. How he was able to gain employment with East Preston Day Care Center. Why social workers from the Nova Scotia Children's Aid Society rarely and often never visited their charges as per their responsibility. Why the provincial government continued to finance the institution, even to this day, after reports of such nature were made. Why the RCMP ignored and lied about receiving complaints about the abuse at the home. How will Nova Scotia make sure this never happens again? These are a few of the questions we hope the inquiry will investigate. Transparency is priority. If the Terms of Reference Committee have failed to ensure that, we trust that Premier Stephen McNeil will enact his ability to broaden its scope. In support of the survivors, we are calling for two things: a Twitter storm from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Time for Operation Death Eaters, Global Solidarity for Independent Inquiries Action on April 25th, and a Survivors Rally on June 5th at 3 p.m., in conjunction with Operation CAS, at the Halifax Commons.
There was no one there to help, love, or care for me.
We are anonymous. We are Operation Death Eaters. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.